Oh, I forgot. My Google don't work in here. I'm Team Elbow. I'm not. Michael Yates.
Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The stream starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Break it down.
Get in.
There we go.
Get in. Get in.
This your podcast, baby. Go ahead, Stizzy. And how do they do that little thing where they lay it up? Ain't that a young
40, I don't know. 40, I don't know.
This your podcast, baby.
Yes.
Oh, we got a good one for y'all tonight.
Come on. Yes. Yes and yes.
We got Miss Charvon Venson in the
Come
house.
on, Miss Charvon Venson.
Hello.
Autimazing.
Mm-hmm.
We got Stizzy
Yo.
in the house. And of course, LosThaDarkGable.
Come on, that's who it is. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again.
LosThaDarkGable.
One more again.
LosThaDarkGable.
There you go.
With the deep voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got him.
That very white.
Hey, baby. Yeah, so episode 55.
55.
We got the CEO of Autimazing.
Yes.
Miss Charvon Venson. No, I can know the Charvon.
Charvon.
Say it right.
Charvon.
Yes.
There we go. You know what I mean? I got more Charvon. So what's going on, young lady?
What's up? Good to be here.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Me.
I'm glad you're here.
It finally happened.
Yeah. Wait, man. Let me see. Y'all.
I don't know where my mic.
Y'all see how we do.
This
I'm gonna
what
trip
we
her
do.
up.
Homework.
I'm gonna trip her up.
You're so professional.
Yeah, I do my homework. God damn it.
Mm-hmm.
I do my homework.
I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
You know. I'm not
go.
gonna.
Let's
I'm not.
go.
You
I'm
are.
ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Stizzy.
Yo.
She said she ready.
Are you ready?
Let me hear this. She said she ready. Are you ready?
Yes,
Steady?
I'm ready.
Are you ready? You remember that song? Are
Yes,
you
I'm
ready?
I don't know. It might be a little before my time. I don't know.
Oh, okay. We got that little young
Here
buck
she
sitting
go.
over there in
Here
the
she
chair.
go. The
Young buck sitting over there in the chair.
Young buck, my.
Go ahead, baby.
So, Ms. Vincent, tell us who you are.
Yes, please.
My name is Charvon Venson, CEO, founder of Autimazing LLC, mother, wife, social worker in my heart always.
There you go. Right
Oh,
there.
thank you, thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. You gotta project. You gotta project that. Project that.
Mother, wife,
There we go. That's what I'm talking.
social worker, always.
Oh man. So how long have you been a social worker?
I've been a social worker since I graduated from Virginia State University, VSU, Hell State. Don't start.
Yeah, what is it? Do I got any VSU people out there?
You don't play. I started off in 2007 as a school worker.
Oh, that's
You know
old.
about SCO.
That's old school social
Yeah,
work.
that's real
Stizzy.
old
That's
school.
old school
That's
social
that's,
work.
that's the grind. That's
Yes.
Yes, go work.
boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I ain't had no car. I was out here.
Yeah. Hold on, wait a minute. You was out. You was out in the streets,
Yes.
social working with no car.
Absolutely.
Mm.
I was hungry. I needed a job. I had student loans to pay. I ain't had no time to be bougie.
Shoes on a slant. Them shoes on a
Listen,
slant.
snow, rain, sleet. I was out there
Oh,
taking care of them kids.
you know what? Listen, all our social workers, man. We bless you and we thank you.
Yes,
You know, for doing your due diligence.
Yes, and more yes.
Yes. It's a thankless job. But
Yes, yes it is. Yes it is. Yes it is.
It's worth it.
Yes it is. But now what are you doing? Now.
I branched out on my own
Mm-hmm.
in 2022. I left after 15 years of social work to bet on me and to create a brand for my children who are on the autism spectrum. And I just wanted to spread more awareness and acceptance of this particular population.
Okay. So you started up a company called Autimazing. And I love that name.
Yes,
Thank you.
that name is popular.
Yes.
for
Thank
real.
you.
Why did you start that company? Please tell us.
Well, my son Maurice was
Hold on a minute.
diagnosed. My son Maurice was diagnosed with autism a day after his 3rd birthday.
Okay.
And a year and a half later, my daughter Mariah was also diagnosed with autism. So my husband and I were basically thrown into this world, and I needed to find an outlet. I needed to shift my perspective from a place of depression, fear, and worry into love, light, and possibilities. And I didn't want my children to see me feeling bad for them.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
in turn, they would feel bad for themselves. And I
Right.
didn't
Okay.
want that.
Oh, okay.
And I
Okay.
also realized that it was not enough resources, supports for our children, the Black and brown community particularly. So I wanted to be a light to other mothers who may not know where to turn and what to do, because I was at that place at one time, and it was very scary. And it was,
Yeah.
it is, autism is a very lonely, isolating journey. And if you don't have a village or people around you that understand or that can at least be a beacon of light to say, hey, I've been there and
Yeah,
it will
yeah.
get better, that in itself makes all the difference. And someone was that light for me. So I feel like it's my job to be that light for other mothers.
That's good.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
good.
good. Good. I love it. I love
That's
it.
support, because there's plenty of parents out here that need that support. you know,
Absolutely.
because there's a lot of single mothers out here that have children with autism, and they just don't know where to go, who to turn to, and so often we do, in the human services field, when we do certain what is it called, the like the trainings. And it speaks about, the integrity of the medical field and how they really do not, they'll give, other races, better care than they would give the Black and the brown.
Absolutely. It's a disparity in resources. It's a disparity in the social service field, period. And when you talk about this particular population, it's even more devastating, because I worked with teenage autistic individuals in my last few years at my last employment, and it was very disheartening, and it really was one of the reasons that I left, because I felt torn, and I felt like I have children. These could be my children. These could be my babies. And I couldn't rest knowing that it's just not enough. These children are just shuffled around the system, and they age out, and then they're homeless, and they're on the streets, and they're being killed. They're being just shipped. They're being incarcerated. There's a large number of autistic incarcerated individuals who should not be there. That's not the proper level of care for them.
So now let me ask you: do we have programs throughout our city, which is Philadelphia? Big shout out to the Sixers, yes. And big shout out to the Phillies, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Big shout outs to the Eagles.
To the Eagles, of course, to the Eagles.
The Flyers.
You know what I mean? Hold on, let me give them their flowers. Let me give them their flowers. You know what I mean? Got the Sixers in the house. Tied it up, you know what I mean? 2 games. You know, so are there programs in the city for our autistic children, as well as let me say parents, you know, to look for those awards?
There are, however, it's few and far in between, and I feel as though, and I feel like a lot of other autistic parents share this sentiment, that you have to fight for everything, literally everything. It's a hard enough journey without you having to just always go to bat and go to war for the smallest things. So me having a background in social work, I was at an advantage because I was already familiar with the early intervention process. I knew about ChildLink. I knew about Elwin. I knew about SPIN. I knew about Center for Autism. I knew about Elwin Seedlings, which is an autism-based preschool. Shout out to them because they are amazing.
Hold on, let me go. Let's give them their flowers, y'all. Let's give them their flowers.
In the house,
Let's give them their flowers.
So there are agencies out there, but unfortunately, when your child is first diagnosed, you're literally given an evaluation that says your child has autism, XYZ. You need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good luck. And you're already in this whirlwind of emotions. You're confused. What's going on? You know, you have this diagnosis, and then you are trying to find a light. You're trying to figure out what's your next move because you're told you need to do X, Y, and Z for your child. So it is overwhelming. And it kind of reminds me of being in social work where we would give parents these plans to get their children back, and we would say, okay, we just took your kids, we know it's hard, but you got to get it together, and you got to do all these things before we even consider getting your children back. And I just felt like it was too much and it was overwhelming. I think that the diagnosis is already hard enough, and I personally believe that it should be someone that connects with newly diagnosed parents who can follow them for at least the first year to see how they're doing, how the child's progressing, do they need any additional help. And yes, my child's developmental pediatrician is excellent. However, you only see them once a year unless it's an emergency. You don't really have someone there guiding you through, all the ups and downs of it all.
So what was the emotional toll on you?
It was rough. It was really hard. I'm always completely transparent to people. I have this perspective now. I'm 3 years in, which may not be a long time, but I am 3 years from where someone else is right now.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yes.
So sometimes we don't need somebody who has done 10 years of something. You just need somebody to say, hey, I was there. I know it's hard, but it's going to get better.
Yes.
But in those initial months, my son was diagnosed a day after his 3rd birthday, and then the whole world went upside down. Our whole world was,
that was
turned
during
upside
the
down.
pandemic.
Exactly. So our son was given his diagnosis in February, and then March, the whole world shut down. So he was supposed to start school in March, and none of that happened. He didn't start school till August. So he did regress. And I was buying everything I could find off of Amazon, off of every therapeutic website to do with him at home. And Elwin did attempt to do virtual therapy, which it just was not a good thing because my son was 3, first of all.
Yeah. And who's sitting in front of
of a
3-year-old? Yeah.
You got this computer in front of me and I'm not supposed to play no games. Like, so after a while, we just decided to cut it down to a minimum because it was causing him to have more meltdowns than anything.
Right.
But it was hard. It was particularly hard on my marriage. It was hard on me. I went into a depression. I blamed myself. I just didn't know, and I didn't understand why us. And I blamed myself completely because as a mother, I think that mothers always carry the burden of if something is wrong with our child, then it must have been something I did.
Right.
But it's not. It's just one of those things that happens. There is a genetic component, but I don't really know a lot about that to really start to say what's what. I just know that at the end of the day, my kids have autism and they needed me. So I had to pull myself out of that dark rabbit hole of autism that I went down because I was watching every YouTube video, reading every book, and there is no crystal ball. So no one can look at your child and say what they're going to do, what they're not going to do, what they're never going to do. And I never allow anyone, not even their doctor, to tell me what my kids will and won't do.
Yes.
I don't even know that. So I don't put those limits on my kids, and they just continue to flourish and grow.
So now let me ask you, can autism be misdiagnosed?
Absolutely. It could be misdiagnosed, and it's undiagnosed a lot of times, especially in the Black and brown community. Our children are...
Wow. Really?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of cases of 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds who just got their diagnosis of autism. Wow. So a lot of times, in girls particularly, because girls present differently, they are kind of like just passed down. Yes. They're pushed through because they can mask their symptoms more. Wow. Boys, I think, are not misdiagnosed as much as girls because most boys, I'm not going to say most, but a lot of times boys, they present their symptoms very, like, you can't miss it. Like, you can kind of look and be like, oh, yeah, something's going on. With girls, you just, sometimes it's harder. If our son wasn't diagnosed already, I probably wouldn't have thought that my daughter had autism.
Now, I have another. Now, is it true that people with autism have a different way of learning, moving, and or even paying attention?
I would say yes. But I think that overall, I think all people, because we're different, we all have different ways of paying attention and things like that. But absolutely, because most of the time they have some kind of sensory needs or sensory sensitivities that get in the way of maybe like they have a sensitivity to loud noises or... Like my son, he, especially when he was younger, he needed a lot of deep pressure. So that would help calm him down and help him be able to soothe himself. So we would give him tight hugs, or we would buy I bought a weighted blanket or compression vests, things like that to accommodate because their system is like overwhelmed and he gets overly stimulated a lot. Okay. So he might not be able to concentrate on what the teacher is saying because he's just fidgety. So the teacher will give him a fidget spinner or a vest, and that will help him to be able to focus more.
That's amazing how it's just the smallest things that can get a person to focus. Like sometimes I need focusing. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly. Because I feel like we all got some autism in us because we all have these things about us that help us get through certain stressful situations, or we like things a certain way. And when things aren't that way, it might send us into having an attitude, or
right.
We can't focus because our desk isn't a certain way, or things like that. So it's just exacerbated with children on the spectrum, I think.
Yeah, and you know what? It seems, when I was young, I mean, I don't know if you ladies are as old as I.
How old? No, we're not.
Yeah. None of your business.
Okay, well,
but
I'm sure.
I'm a proud 52.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just turned 40.
Oh,
oh man, y'all old. But let me get
what you talking about,
Pop? Let me get my chest right there.
No.
Let me get my class right there.
That
was so corny. But it seems like when I was young, you really didn't hear about autism. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it was a community thing, because I grew up in the ghetto. You know what I mean? Maybe it wasn't.
It wasn't as prevalent.
Exactly.
10 years ago, the statistics were 1 in 500.
But you know what they called it back in the day? No offense to anybody. It wasn't, now we say intellectually disabled. Back then they used to say, oh, she's or he is retarded.
Mentally retarded. MR.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
and a lot of times, those type of individuals were institutionalized.
Yes.
They were put away into these private asylums and things like that, away from the community. I think in the last maybe 20 years, it has gotten a lot better. I'm not going to say that it is terrible, because I know that in the past it was a lot worse. Now I think because autism is more prevalent and is being diagnosed more, that's because it's in people's faces more.
Yes. So now, how do you deal with a meltdown?
Good question. So my son has more, I would say, severe meltdowns than my daughter. My daughter has regular little tantrums. She's very redirectable. So if sometimes a lot of kids with autism, they have a hard time with transitioning from preferred activities to non-preferred.
Right.
So if my son if he wants the tablet that his sister has, and he'll just take it. And then we'll have to, redirect him and say, no, that's not yours. You have to give it back. And then he may have a tantrum and fall out and start screaming and things like that. And we'll just calmly talk to him and tell him, you can't have it.
Yeah.
But we were instructed by the doctor, just to kind of ignore the behavior, because once you give it attention, and my son is very smart, so he knows.
Does that work?
Yes, it does.
It does?
Because when we walk away, he look up and then he'll follow us and start crying again. Like, y'all not about to ignore me.
I gotta give it to him. I gotta give it to the young boy. Nah, I don't know where you think you going.
Right, I'm gonna follow.
Where you gonna catch this tantrum, Mom?
So I think that because he is aware, that in itself, it's easier to not feed into it, because I'm like, okay, so that we're ignoring you, but you want the attention. It's just like any kid. Bad attention, good attention is still attention.
Yeah.
So if you ignore the behavior, it stops.
Oh, maybe I need to start throwing some more attention tantrums.
Like, I'll ignore you like I've ignored my kids.
No, you gonna pay attention to me,
mommy.
Damn it,
mommy.
So now I'm curious, because I didn't want to research this, but I want to ask you this question. Now, are there any research that shows which parent carries the autism gene?
There is. I've heard that it is from the father's side,
Oh.
I knew it was
but there isn't enough research. There
Shut
isn't
your mouth.
enough research to support that.
Yeah.
And I don't really get into that because I feel like it's like the whole vaccine conspiracy thing.
Yes.
People think that vaccines lead to autism when that's just not true because there's plenty of people on the spectrum who are unvaccinated. I know parents who did not get their children vaccinated, particularly the MMR vaccine, which I think a lot of people try to say is linked to autism. But if there's children who haven't had it, then what?
True.
So I don't really get into that. I know that they do they offer genetic testing, but I'm really not interested in it because I feel like at this point, it doesn't matter. They have it.
Like, is it going to help?
Right. It's not. Yeah. So I have to focus my energy on helping my kids, increasing their life skills, helping them, be in this world that is very overwhelming for them at times.
Okay.
So, in regards to your husband, like, we oftentimes only focus on the mothers, the women. Is there anything that you want to do with the men? Because they hurt too. And I know the new millenniums of today, they love their kids. I was just, commending the men that I've dealt with. Like, I commend you young men for, participating in your child's life, for actually being an actual father. You know what I mean? Not just a donor.
Oh, well, hey, listen, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, boy.
Absolutely. Well, my husband is amazing. And
that's my boy.
I am very blessed. Shout out.
Yeah, hey, that's my boy right there. That's my boy.
Mr. Maurice.
Yeah, shout out to him because he's a great father, period. Before we had children together, he had 2 children already, and he was helping me raise my daughter. And I already saw that in him.
Yeah.
So I knew that he was never going to abandon his children willingly. And he has stepped up to the plate and been my backbone and my anchor throughout this journey. And we support each other, but I know that we deal with it differently.
Yeah.
And he is really big on being involved. He's the fun dad.
I mean, of course, let me tell you something. The fathers are always the fun dads.
I just told him that. I said it must be nice.
Yeah, like Kevin Hart is saying. I mean, you don't see the mamas. They don't want to be. Nah, father's always the fun dad.
So he has a really good bond and relationship with all his children, and especially the 2 little ones. They love their dad. I mean, they have their own routine. They have their own little language. They have their own little jokes, and it's really heartwarming. And I always say, I don't know what I would do without him. He really makes this journey a lot easier because he is really good with seeing that if I'm having a difficult time or if I need some time to my own, he'll be like, all right, I got the kids.
He'll pick up the slack.
Go out, hang out, or he'll just be like, I'm gonna take the kids to the park for a few hours. You stay home and take a bath or do whatever. And I really appreciate that because it really does help.
Give my man the roses. Let me give my man the roses. I knew I liked them. For something.
Right. Shout out to Maurice, my honey.
Well, I mean, with us, man, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, as a man, the conflict that I go through is, I think that I'm hard on my kids. You know what I mean? So I got a son and a daughter, and I be like, oh man, am I too hard? Am I too hard on them?
It's a balance.
I want them to be. I want them to learn the way of life. I don't want them to be oblivious to what's going on out here in these streets. You know what I'm saying? So I want them to be prepared because I'm not going to be around.
Right. Forever.
Forever. So I want them to be prepared. You know what I mean? And,
absolutely.
And the one thing that, oh man, I just melt like butter. When my daughter when she be crying, oh daddy, I pray for you. I was like this, yo, I melt like butter. Cause I be like, oh my God, I be am I hard on this girl? What she be like, daddy, I pray for you because you could.
Oh my goodness.
Because listen, I got my wisdom tooth pulled, so I got this hole in my mouth. And she be like, oh, my daddy got a hole in his mouth. I be like, listen, you don't need to be telling everybody that.
Get it, Peanut.
But that's my peanut though. But I'm hard on her because you know what I mean, I feel as though that as I want her to grow up to be a well-balanced woman. You know what I mean? To know how to cipher through the BS that us men give. Because us men, we can give some BS. Because we're men. You know what I mean? I'm
I
an
don't think
unga
that's
bunga.
no excuse, but
I
will agree.
So
I
I want her
always
to be.
say that daughters are a man's karma.
Yes.
And that
You better talk it.
you can it just has to be a balance, in my opinion, you know?
Yeah.
Because I didn't grow up with that father's love that my daughters are getting.
Right.
And I know all the things that all the unnecessary pain and dog behind men that I had to deal with to get to this version of myself.
Oh, yourself, yes.
And a lot of that wasn't necessary had I had a man saying, schooling me to the game.
You're right.
Maurice does a very good job of that with our daughters. He is very transparent with them. He be like, listen, I was a F-boy out here in these streets when I was a young boy. Like, I was wild.
Yeah.
And so
I can't see that.
Don't listen. But he was always.
You can't see everybody. I mean, see, us men,
I can't see that in you.
Us men, we gravitate to good men. Like, yo, that's my homie, right? That's my boy, right?
I can
You
see
a
that
young
you
bull.
lose.
You see it in me?
Yes. Not Maurice.
When you a young boy,
Can I cut her camera?
you just sticking and moving, basically.
Yeah.
And he tells our daughters that, like, these young bulls, they don't love you. Like,
They don't move the way us old
and
heads
it's so
used to move.
different. It's so different.
It is.
And you don't want them to be taken advantage of. But the reality is they got to make their own mistakes.
Yeah.
And just like we had to learn and grow, but it's like you don't want them to make those mistakes that they can't come back from.
Yes.
Exactly.
So it's a fine line you got to walk. And I think that the worry that all parents have regarding that is real. But I know when your child not just has autism, but any special need, it is compounded with a lot of worry and stress, because I have a daughter and a son.
Yeah.
And I don't want my daughter to be taken advantage of because somebody sees that she may not have a full understanding of things.
Okay.
So I have to teach her differently, but I know that she's going to be okay.
So now, can children who have autism grow up to be productive adults?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I volunteered over the last summer with Work Ready. They had a program for autistic teenagers.
Okay.
And the woman that ran the group, she has an autistic son. He's 28, I believe, and he works in City Hall.
Okay.
And he works in the Office of Disabilities.
Okay.
Help as a peer mentor to other adults on the spectrum. Helping. He drives. You know, autistic people, they get married, they hold employment. Like, it's not a disability, it's a different ability.
Come on now. Say it again.
Give me
Flowers right there, boy.
That's not mine, but I heard that somewhere.
Steal it.
And it really,
Steal it. That's yours tonight.
It really struck with me because that's true.
Yeah.
It really is true. And it's all about perspective. And when I changed my perspective, it changed the whole way that I viewed autism and my children's future. Because on a serious note, the worry is real. And
I'm
if
sure it
you
is.
are an autism parent, not just mom, parent, caregiver, someone who loves and takes care of an autistic individual, the worry is suffocating sometimes.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know how many nights I lost sleep just thinking, crying, worrying myself sick about what's going to happen when my husband and I are not around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want, my son is considered nonverbal, but I say pre-verbal because I'm claiming it. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
And
should I give you some flowers?
he will speak. He does speak, and he will speak, and he will be great because that is what I breathe into him and my daughter. And I had to shift my perspective because it's the only option I had.
Okay.
I felt like if I didn't, then how is that being beneficial to my children? It's not. And it's a lot of parents who can't handle the pressure and they aren't able to navigate the system like I am because they may have their own situations going on that they don't have the ability to even advocate for their child because they got their own needs or they don't have a village. I have an amazing mother. I have sisters. I have family who love and support my children who make this journey easier.
Right.
But the reality is not every parent has that.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to a parent for self-care?
Breathe. Breathe, mama.
Take it in. Just sit back.
It's going to be okay. Literally breathe. Doing some deep breathing, it really sends oxygen to your brain. It calms you down. But self-care is one of those things when you're an autism parent, it's like, yeah, right, self-care. But you have to make it a priority because we are the anchors in our children's lives. We have to have the energy, the stamina to keep up with not only them, but to fight the systems for all that our children need.
Right.
I mean, you have to, lots of parents have to file lawsuits with the school district or other agencies. Yes, just because these kids aren't getting what they need. And if you don't have a parent to call it out, they'll just keep on keeping on with it. But it's exhausting sometimes because it's like, damn, like I'm tired. I'm not getting no sleep. Like let's really talk about it. Children on the spectrum, they suffer with insomnia. They have some of them have a hard time falling asleep, staying asleep. So you're talking about you're not getting a lot of sleep sometimes, and then you're up early, and then you're dealing with the behaviors of your child, and then your child is not getting the supports they need, and then you have to fight for everything. And then you have to take care of yourself, which is not always easy. But I would say I started with just walking around my neighborhood, just choosing better things to eat, which directly affected my energy, supplementing with herbs and different things that gave me energy, and doing things that I like to do, doing things that reminded me I'm not just a mom, I'm not just a wife, I'm a person, and I was someone before I had these children, and I'm still, and that person deserves to be happy and have, things that you deserve to do, things that make you happy. You don't have to be bogged down with everybody else's stuff and you're not doing anything for you. So my advice would be to just find those things that you like to do, that you find joy in, even if it's just taking a good book and going to the park while your kids is in school and reading it, going to a nice coffee shop, going to your favorite store, buying yourself some perfume, or just taking a bubble bath and cutting your phone off, putting on do not disturb.
Some me time.
Yes, exactly.
That's
because
self-care.
you have to be able, you have to rejuvenate. I have to replenish myself to be my best self for my family.
Yeah, that's good.
That's that's my homegirl.
That's good.
That's my homegirl. Gotta give it to her.
But it's not easy. It's not easy. I have an amazing husband. Okay, so a lot of people don't.
Wait, that's my
have
homeboy.
Yeah. But last summer my daughter wasn't in daycare, which is a whole nother story. But her ABA therapist would come to the house and we would go to parks, and I found a nice park that had a track. So what I did was I let the ABA therapist entertain my daughter at the playground, and I put my AirPods in and I just walked around the track, and that was my time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not realistic to always have an hour or 2 hours to yourself. I get that. So we have to get creative with how we spend our time. So you know that your child has to get the therapy, but if you find somewhere that can accommodate your child and you can do something else, then you killing two birds with one stone.
So now, are there different type? Well, I'm sorry, Deuce. You got a question before? Because I'm a
Listen,
run on.
you on the roll, but
I want to roll because I need to know.
I'm going.
Are there different types of autism?
So autism is a spectrum. It's called autism spectrum disorder.
Okay.
And it's a spectrum. So they don't use low and high functioning anymore. But for the sake of the podcast, I'm going to use low and high.
Okay.
So Asperger's is a part of autism. And that is considered the higher end of the spectrum. And there are individuals, because the needs vary so much. You may have a person who cannot speak, they cannot toilet, they cannot walk. They literally need everything done for them.
So now, real quick, I don't mean to
keep going.
cut you, but now is what they say the tick? People who have the tick, is that on like the spectrum?
Tourette's?
Yeah, like Tourette's.
I don't think so.
You don't think? Oh, okay. No, I was just curious.
But people who are on the spectrum, like, so my son, he has so he may do this thing like in front of his eye. It's like this, or he may flap his hands sometimes. You may see children do that. That's like a sensory related, but it's not a tick per se.
Okay.
Yeah, because I noticed that even though they didn't diagnose my daughter with Asperger's, but the signs are there. You know what I'm saying? But her hands shake all the time, like just for no reason. Like it just shakes. Like when she go to grab something, it's shaking. But once she grabs it, it doesn't shake anymore. But it's like a nervousness in her hands. So I brought it to the doctor's attention, but I'm about to handle my scandal with them because I'm so fed up. As many years as I have been complaining, you know what I mean? Even with the school district, it's like the teachers are like, oh, not our black and brown kids. They don't label them. No.
Do they have programs in school?
So the counselors, when you write a letter and say, I need my child to be evaluated, a lot of the teachers chose not to move that letter on because they're like,
serious?
Well, yeah.
Oh no!
Oh come on!
No.
Now.
Serious?
Oh no!
Come
You need
on.
an attorney. Let's talk after.
No. So I've been there and done that. We sued. Yes, we did. And what happened was when she was in like the 7th or the 8th grade, they were literally trying to fail her. And I was like, so I sent a nice, nasty email, very professional. I'm good with my emails. And it was vicious.
Yes, she is.
And I was like, you will not fail my daughter when I said several years ago and put in the letter, please evaluate her. But they only discovered the ADHD, but not the Asperger's. But I believe, I know for a fact she's on the higher end of Asperger's. But, it's just getting to know your child. And a lot of parents, they be like, oh, sit down, shut the F up, you know what I mean, or whatever. But they don't realize that there is something else going on. You know what I mean? Wow. So it's like now, when you see it, you have to, it's like if you know that parent really doesn't understand what's going on, you have to talk to that parent and like, listen, these are signs of such and such, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's hard for them to grasp it because they want them to be, so to speak, normal kids,
right,
you know what I mean?
What is that?
Yeah, and and that's what my daughter's father cannot handle this. You know what I'm saying? Like he's on a whole different spectrum himself. He's like, no, ain't nothing wrong with you. You ain't got it. But my daughter accepts it. You know,
being
what I mean?
in denial does not help our children.
No,
all.
it does not.
It doesn't.
Well, you know what? How do you pick up on the signs? Or let me ask you this. Because I'm jumping my questions here because we rolling on this topic. You personally, what did you see to me say, you know what, I have to get my child tested?
So with my son, because he's the oldest, when he was around a year and a half, he had some words, and then all of a sudden they just went away. Mm-hmm. Like he would not use the words that I knew he had. Mm-hmm. So I started teaching him baby sign language from YouTube. I taught myself, and then I would teach him different signs, simple signs for like eating, drinking, things like that. Mm-hmm. And then I went and I spoke to his pediatrician, and I expressed my concerns. You know, I'm like, something's going on. You know, I know that by 1.5, I already had a daughter, so I know that he should have been. And all kids are different, but I know that by 1.5, he should be more words.
Right now. Okay.
Right. So no slight against her because his pediatrician is amazing, but
they missed the mark.
She was just kind of like nonchalant about it, like, well, let's wait and see. Wait and see until he's 2, and then we can, revisit it then. And my husband was the same way. He was like, well, he's still young, so let's just wait. But me, I'm not a wait and see type of person.
Right.
I know that time is of the essence, especially when you're talking about a child's development. When a child's brain develops 75% by age 5.
Okay.
You have to get on it. So having a social work background, I already was familiar with the child links and the partnerships and the L-wings.
Yes.
So I just called them. I said, man, forget what that lady talking about. I'm a call. And I called, they came out, they did the assessment. They said he did have a delay, that he qualified for speech, occupational therapy, and something called special instruction. Mm-hmm. So he had been receiving early intervention for 1.5 years before he was diagnosed with autism.
Wow. Okay.
And we didn't know it was autism at the time, but he kept having ear infections, so he had to get tubes in his ears. So I'm like, well, maybe he's not talking because he couldn't hear.
An ear infection, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then he still wasn't talking. And then previous to that, he had a lip and tie tongue that had been corrected when he was 3 months old. So I'm like, well, maybe that didn't heal properly, and maybe that's why he's not talking. But then when we finally got the diagnosis, they said it was autism. And even though it was hard to hear, in my heart, I already knew.
Yes. Yeah.
But it was still difficult to hear, because as a parent, you never want, we want our children to have the best chance, because we know what's out here. We know how difficult life is when you don't have neurological challenges. So by the time my daughter was diagnosed at a year and a half later, I had already got her early intervention services also.
Okay.
So, which made all the difference. I am a huge, huge advocate for the earlier, the better.
Yes.
Don't wait. The first sign of worry, trust your mother's gut. Your
mother's gut.
Yeah. And sometimes it's the father. Trust your instinct. As a parent,
yes,
I feel like you can never go wrong when you're trusting your gut. If you feel like something is wrong with your baby, then get the assessment. It can't hurt, because all they can say is, hey, it's not any delays. We're not seeing anything. And if you don't agree, you can get a second opinion.
Yeah.
But you don't want to wait and then miss that time that they could have been learning and growing and gaining those skills, because they're going to lose out.
Yes. So now, how do they test for autism?
You have to. It's a psychological test, and when a child. So my kids were very young. They were 3 when they got diagnosed, which is there are some kids that are diagnosed younger than that, but typically I think 3 is the range that most kids are diagnosed. That the parents that I talk to, that's around the age range. Because I feel like that's the age when kids are starting preschool, and that's when you really see the difference in the developmental delays compared to other 3-year-olds who are potty trained, talking, things like that. So they do a series of testing through play therapy, because they're little kids.
Yeah.
So they test on their fine motor skills, their gross motor skills, putting puzzles or blocks, stuff like that, play, their imaginary play, their pretend play. So like playing with, like you might see a little girl with a baby trying to feed it. That's considered pretend play. Joint attention. So it's like me and you, we got a ball and we rolling it back to each other. That's joint play. That's a huge thing for children on the spectrum because a lot of them struggle with sharing or just like playing with other people.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of the testing is on those type of things. And then they test cognitive abilities and things like that, but they don't really do a lot of IQ testing at that age because it's really hard, especially because my son was nonverbal. But he was diagnosed with autism and expressive and receptive language disorder.
Okay.
Which is expressive is what you speak and receptive is what you understand. So my son always had a better grasp of receptive skills. So he understands more than he's able to express.
Wow.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great thing because it could be both. He could struggle both. So he understands if I say, Maurice, get your cup, wipe up the juice and put it in the sink, he's going to do that because he understands. He may not be able to say, hey, Mom, my stomach is killing me. But he's going to come up to me and rub his stomach.
Okay.
And what I learned, because I was obsessed with verbal communication, but nonverbal communication is just as important as verbal because pointing is nonverbal, waving is nonverbal, a thumbs up is nonverbal, signaling, saying like holding, this is all nonverbal. Me pulling your arm to something that I want is nonverbal. And I think that as parents, sometimes with children on the spectrum, we don't always focus on that as much as we should.
Okay.
Because one is the step to the other. You need nonverbal to become verbal. So I personally and my husband, we try to focus on their strengths and then help them where they have some deficits. But both of my kids are on the spectrum, but they're completely different individuals. One, they're completely different anyway.
Yeah.
One's a girl, one's a boy. They have different strengths, different weaknesses. But I always say that my daughter, Mariah, she's verbal. She is my son's voice until he finds his own. Because they have such a bond.
Yeah. They're real close.
They are close, but they fight like cats and dogs.
They siblings.
That's how you know they live.
Yeah.
They only 15 months apart, and my daughter is the youngest, but she is the mother. And my son be like, chill, shorty, like.
So now let's talk about early diagnosis. And now, at what age shall parents test their children?
I don't think there's specifically a age because again, some parents don't see the signs or some medical professionals may miss the signs because all children present differently, right? So you may have a kid that doesn't have any symptoms that ring off any alarms.
Okay.
So they may I've seen people go their whole lives and never be diagnosed. I mean, grown people. So I'm an advocate for the earlier the better. That's my motto with everything. And my son was diagnosed at 3, but he was on the wait list for a year because that's another problem. There aren't enough places that do these evaluations. There are only about 5 that I could count on the top of my head. And you're talking about
Is that within Philadelphia?
Yes. And it all goes by insurance. So your insurance company, they have to take your insurance. Not everybody, if it's out of network, then...
I was about to ask that. Are you able to go out of network? Now, what about out of the city?
You can pay out of your pocket for an evaluation, but it's thousands of dollars.
Oh, my Lord. Are you
people
serious?
Don't have that.
It's pricey.
They don't have $1,000 just laying around. And if they do, they can't really afford to spend it on an evaluation that may not say, you know what I mean? So we had put our son on the wait list for CHOP and for Center for Autism. And he was evaluated at both. I let him get evaluated at CHOP first. They diagnosed him. And then I got a second opinion from Center for Autism. And it took a year. With my daughter, it was easier because with CHOP, if you have a sibling that's already being seen in the developmental clinic, then their doctor, who we love, she just was like, well, just just send me an email and I'll have my scheduler put it on the calendar. And they got her in quicker. But a lot of parents, you have to wait 9 months, a year, and that's a long time to worry. It's a long time because in that time, I feel like that's the time that you can utilize the early intervention services. You can utilize, research and read books, talk to other parents to get some strategies, do the things that while you wait. Because I'm working on a book while you wait.
You gotta get the plug right there. You gotta get the plug right there. Amazon bestseller.
Amazon best.
So during that year, I wasn't just sitting around thinking, "Oh, what's wrong?" I was being proactive, and I know it's not easy, but for me, it would have been harder to be in denial or to turn a blind eye to it and watch my child continue to the deficit in their development get bigger. So I'm always an advocate for the earlier the better. Not every state has the same resources, has the same access to resources. We're fortunate. Philly may not be the best, but it is a lot better than a lot of places.
Yes, and that's a true story.
There are horror stories. I mean, places that don't have one place. It's people that have to move to another state just so their child can have
for resources.
For resources,
yes. Schools, preschools. Elwyn Seedlings is an autism-based preschool. Shout out to them again because they are the best.
Give them some right there. Give them right there.
But that's a privilege. It's a privilege to live in a place where we don't have to pay for that. Our insurance doesn't have to. Like we don't have to pay for that out of pocket. It's a lot of, Child Link, partnership, Elwyn. Those are the things that you don't have to pay for out of pocket. And every state should have a early intervention program that is free for all parents. So if you have a child and you have concerns about their development, autism or not, if you have any concerns about your child's development, please Google your state's early intervention number.
Jump on
reach out to them. And if where you live doesn't have any, I don't know, you may have to reach out to an attorney, maybe to find some other resources that may be near where you live. But I know people actually have to relocate for those things.
Just for those services.
So are you going to branch out? Like, are you starting in counties? Would you want to start, in counties, then move out to different states?
You might have to get into politics
because they need you.
Yes,
get into politics.
Just coming with the question.
Listen, Autimazing is amazing, and they need you to automize out there.
They do, they really do, and. My plans, my vision for Autimazing are really big. I'm an empath by nature, so I always want to, and I'm always going to be a social worker. Being a social worker is not just what you get paid for. It's a life.
You. It's a lifestyle.
It's in you. It's a lifestyle, baby. It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. You know what I mean?
It's a lifestyle. It really is. Because I'm doing social work now. I'm doing social work every day.
Yep.
Talking to parents. And I cannot emphasize how important it is for each and every one of us to just... Sometimes you just gotta be a listening ear. Sometimes I don't want to hear that it's gonna, sometimes I don't want to hear all that. I just want you to listen to me, let me cry or let me say what I gotta say.
Let you have your moment.
Yeah, let me have my moment.
You know what? Have you noticed? It's always the family members that call you. Like, son. I just, oh my God, I must be the family social worker again.
But then they always hit you with the line, stop trying social work.
You called me. You know what I'm saying? You call me.
Listen.
And listen, you don't want to hear all the time that, shout out to God our Father in the name of Jesus. But sometimes you don't want to hear that. God got you.
Yeah.
Jesus going to. No, let me have my moment. Let me share.
Jesus ain't taking the wheel today.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I'm highly spiritual. But I do know that sometimes it's just hard.
Yes.
It's just hard,
Yes.
And that's okay. And for a long time, I felt guilty saying that. But it's okay.
It is.
It's okay to admit that the shit is hard sometimes.
My man. Look, my man Reese, look at this. It's such a great interview. I'm super proud of you, honey.
Thank you.
Don't mess my man. Let me
Give it a hands. Give it a hands. Not the clap. Give it a hands.
Look, he over there. Yeah, we see you lurking.
Somebody's watching me.
We see you lurking, Reese.
Hey, Miss Maurice.
Always.
He always lurking.
That's right. He love his wifey.
Yeah, he love his wifey.
And it is a great thing.
Hey, listen, y'all. Look, when we interview Maurice, so he called the wifey after the interview. She said, "Boy, you cursing too much." She got in his shit.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
Oh my goodness.
How you going to do that in background?
Over exaggerating. I was simply giving him some constructive criticism.
Oh boy.
Some pointers for his next one. I thought he did an excellent job. But as the wife, I'm supposed to be able to clean that shit up.
Yeah. You know what's funny? My boy, he listens in every week. Now my man love him to death, El Plaga.
El Plaga.
I mean, love him to death. Plag was like, yo, I know he get all the black business. Because he can relate.
Yes.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
Very down to earth, very humble.
If my house burned down and Reese came to my crib and he started talking to me, God forbid, he started talking to me in a language that I knew. Oh, yo, bro, you got my business.
And that's important.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Because you never want to talk over people or talk down to people. You want to talk to them and you want them to, because I think that most of us, I know me, I tend to gravitate towards people I can relate to.
There you go.
You may not be in my struggle, but you can understand my struggle. And I think that's another reason why I created this brand, because specifically for my black mothers, I am open to all races and ethnicities. Don't get me wrong, but I am a black woman. I'm a black mom. And
your mom is on.
Hold on, wait. Speaking of mom.
Mama is on.
There.
Hey, mom.
Hey, mom.
Hey, mom.
Hey, mom.
Where mom at? I see you, mom.
She watching her baby.
Y'all is crazy.
Whoa.
Your mom is, listen, your daughter, hey, mom.
She is amazing.
I'll be over Sunday dinner.
Because I came from her.
Look,
I know
I'll
that's
be over
right.
Sunday.
Apple don't fall far from the tree.
Can your mom cook?
Yes.
Oh,
absolutely.
You got some kids over here, mama.
Mom. I'll be over Sunday.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. So, can you explain to our listeners what happens if autism goes untreated? Are there any, oh Lord moments?
Absolutely. There's oh Lord moments when your child is diagnosed.
Okay.
So I feel like if a child continues to get pushed through the school district system,
as
system,
they often do, I personally, as a social worker, I have seen a 13-year-old young man that was completely nonverbal, had not even the fact that he was nonverbal, he had no communication method. He couldn't use pet cards, which are cards with pictures on them. Wow.
That's the first stage of speech when you're working with a nonverbal child. They try to get them to use pet cards.
Okay.
He couldn't even use a communication book with pet cards. He couldn't write. He couldn't read. He couldn't speak. And he was in the hospital and he was being violent and aggressive.
Because over the years he
never
never diagnosed.
Could you imagine being
not
13
being able
years
to
old
say anything?
and your head is killing you, and you can't tell nobody that, or you're hurting, or you're feeling away, or you're frustrated. I personally, when I am at those moments of like, oh, I'm just really feeling overwhelmed, I tried my best to put myself in my kids' shoes and imagine how they feel inside their bodies, not being able to calm themselves down or articulate how they feel or what's going on with them. As hard as it is to help them sometimes, it has to be 1,000 times. It is 1,000 times harder for the individual. But I know that it happens and it's unfortunate, but the downside to not being diagnosed early is detrimental to not only the person but to society, because that person is going to grow up and 9 times out of 10 they're going to be doing things because they don't have the understanding, they don't have the skills, they don't have the supports, they don't have a team, they don't have a behavior specialist, they don't have a social worker, they don't have a family. You know, a lot of times some autistic adults have to live with their family because they can't do certain things on their own, or maybe they can, but it's just safer. But they have assisted living programs, they have people who can, I mean, there's plenty of autistic people who live completely independent. So I just think that the earlier the better, because if you don't, it's just it's a world of difference. If you take a child that was diagnosed at 3 and given all these supports intensively versus a child that never was diagnosed, went on to be a teenager, grew up, and now they're in a work environment and they're expected to deal with people. Like, humans are weird and annoying anyway.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, we are.
Humans are draining and they're weird. And if you don't have the social skills or the verbal language to express that, then it's just a recipe for a disaster.
And there go, you said earlier, you know, they are incarcerated.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or dying out in the street.
Yes.
You
Homeless.
Homeless.
Robbed. You know, just it's just super.
It's hurtful.
Well, listen, I am
unfortunate.
I'm feeling kind of down. Because Mom said she wasn't cooking Sunday, so you said something. I'm not cooking Sunday.
That's
sorry.
My sister.
Oh, wait a minute, Dawn. Hey, Sissy Pooh.
Yeah, she was a social worker for CFCF for many years. She just retired.
She's
retired.
Everything.
Let me get. I mean, get up for sis. Get up for sis.
That's
She's seen everything.
Yeah. And she's watching too.
Everybody get the stalker song.
Yeah, everybody get the stalker song.
Whoa.
So now I'm about to hit her with the true or false questions. So, you know, I like to ask my guests a couple of true or false questions about their profession. So I can hit you with those?
Let's go.
All right. So is ADHD part of autism? True or false?
False.
False? Okay.
It's a separate diagnosis.
It is?
There are people, you can have autism and ADHD. That's very common.
Oh.
Yes, but they are not the same.
Okay. Oh. Second question, number 2.
Number 2.
Is autism a disability?
I mean, technically it's a disability. Yes, it is a disability. If your child is diagnosed with autism, you have access. It opens up a world of resources. I always say that it's better to get your child diagnosed early because they could get Medicaid, they could get SSI, they can get ABA therapy, which is a really, really intensive therapy that makes a really good difference. My daughter received it for a year, and she went from having a few words to she won't stop.
Hey, go on.
She won't stop.
That's Peanut right there.
So
Talk herself right to sleep. All right. Question number 3.
Number 3.
Can stress during pregnancy cause autism?
I don't know.
Oh, that's a good one, Lois.
Is that a good one?
That's a
That
good
is
one.
a good
I got
Give yourself the
You got
hands.
me
Give
stumped.
yourself the hands.
Well, let me
say
play some.
Really? Is that DMX?
Hey,
We're not going anywhere. I'm gonna ask some questions.
Come on, here your
I
scandal.
would say no because I had a very stressful first pregnancy,
Oh, word?
and my daughter is.
Was
not
it from
on
my
the
boy?
spectrum. No, hell no. No. He didn't stress me out at all.
Oh, you didn't?
No, that's how I know it's not true. The
She
one
said
I
from
was,
her oldest daughter.
Oh, the first
oldest
one.
yes,
Oh.
oldest
Yes.
child. My first
Oh,
year-old.
the first. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't say 100%, but in my experience, I'm gonna say no.
Okay. All right. Question number 4.
Number 4.
Can autistic people cry?
Absolutely. My kids cry all the damn time. Are you kidding me? What? Next. That was easy.
That was it. That was an easy one.
That was easy.
All right. Number 5, the 5th and final one.
Number 5.
Can autistic people love?
You trying to make me cry. I ain't gonna do it. I'm not.
No, you don't.
gonna
Come on.
Do it.
Come on, let it go.
I'm not gonna do it.
Stizzy, give me the tissues.
No.
Give me the tissues.
No. My children are loved. My children are loved.
Yes.
And they are the most loving. Their teachers will tell you, anyone who has met my children, they are the definition of love. They just love. They're so loving. They love affection. They love to kiss and hug and touch. My kids are amazing, and they give me the strength. They have sparked a light in me that I never even saw this version of myself. They did this for me. So they are loved. They are amazing.
That's the environment
That's
y'all
what I'm
provide for them. Though.
Yeah.
That's mommy and daddy right there, all in them. You
they
know
don't
what
got
I'm
no
saying?
choice because we kiss and love up on them all day.
Yes,
but they
I
love my
it.
son. My son, he's such a joy, and he has such an amazing spirit. All his teachers love him. All his classmates. I'm like, young boy, like, what's going on? And my daughter, she has the best smile. She loves to sing. We call her our little songbird.
That's my girl right
and
there.
she just they're just amazing. So absolutely. That's why I never understand when people say, well, oh, they probably got a hard time, with affection. Please, my kids, they love affection. They love to kiss and hug. My daughter is so gentle with like babies and little kids. I mean, if she see a baby in the park, forget about it. She's gonna help her. She's gonna help her up the slide.
Yes.
She would have been an amazing big sister, but it ain't gonna happen. So
over it. Been there and done that.
Sure.
I got the 2.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap.
Hold on, wait. What mom say? Stizzy, what mom say?
Mom said, all the time, and yes, my babies love me. That's what Mama said.
What's this say?
And then Sissy Pooh said, those soft kisses and hugs, she love them. I know that's right.
Oh man, listen, I love this interview right here.
Yes, this was amazing.
Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna hit some closing questions.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm like, damn, time flies. All right, so what are your plans for Autimazing in the future?
Well, my short-term goals, I created a mom-to-mom support group that is meeting for the first time. Thank you. It's meeting for the first time on Saturday, May 20th at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
I've been working on this for a while.
It's
going to be located at 7727 Germantown Avenue, Suite 100.
Okay.
And you can RSVP with me, Charvon.
I will put that
all that information in the
description.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So that is my first community engagement project that I'm working on. I just wanted to create a space for moms to come where they can let their hair down a little bit. It's an hour and a half, for themselves, just to talk about their autism journey, get some resources from other moms, just build a sisterhood of moms who get it. Sometimes you just need to be around people who get it. And a lot of times you don't have access to that because everybody is just, doing their own thing, that you just need to slow down, breathe, and find your tribe. That's my goal for that. And I don't just want it to be a support group. I want us to do different things that help me with my life and to keep my stress down, like yoga, meditation, spirituality, walking, giving back to the community. I want the moms to do things in a community. And I also want to, long term, I want to have my own nonprofit where I have a brick and mortar, where I have my own psychologists and social workers that can do these evaluations.
Readily on hand.
Yes.
Ooh. Go ahead.
That is amazing right there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, that is amazing.
I
But
love
Charvon,
it. I love it.
what about the dads?
What about signal?
You can't leave us dads out.
Listen, I'm
Ain't leaving us dads. Ain't leaving us dads out.
Reese, you gotta
ask Maurice. I told
Reese,
him.
you gotta get it popping with the brothers, because it's so many programs for the women, but it's nothing for the men.
But I do know of one.
See, one out of 20,000
that I met. I met this particular person, and when I was volunteering over the summer, he has a basketball program for children on the spectrum because he has a son.
That's good. He
has a son. I think he's 20, in his late 20s, and he started it then for his son, and it's just continued to grow over the years. And he has a dad group. But you're right, it's not a lot, and that's why I created this group, because I couldn't find a group like that I was looking for. So I decided to create, be the change you want to see. So I created, because this group is not just for the moms, it's for me. It's for me just as much as it's for them.
Exactly.
Because I need the support. I need the sisterhood. I need, just someone to say, hey, when I'm having a bad day, or just somebody who gets it. Yes. I need it just as much as they need it. So I put it is very personal to me, because this brand is my children. It is my babies.
Right.
So I do take it very seriously. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this, and I just hope and pray that someone gets something out of it, because I really am not concerned about the numbers. If one mom shows up, that's enough.
That's it.
Yeah.
But I know
Exactly.
because it'll be for who it's meant to be for. Because what's for me is for me, and I'm not worried about the numbers or who come or who doesn't come. Whoever, I already have 5 moms who have RSVP, and I'm like stunned. I'm blown away by that. But I just know that it's going to continue to grow, because my intentions are pure, and I really do want to be a blessing to these moms, because this journey, like I said, it is lonely, it is isolating, and if you don't live it, you just can never get it.
Yes.
And it's no slight against anyone. It's just one of those things. So everyone needs a supportive village. And I have created my own outside of my family with different professionals who have worked with my children. My daughter's ABA therapist was just over our house yesterday, bringing her a birthday gift. And we was outside chilling on the porch, eating Chinese food.
Fried wings and rice.
But she hasn't worked with my daughter in over 5 months. She stopped working with her 5 months ago, but I love her dearly because she loves my daughter.
She's still there. She's still in your daughter's life.
I call her my daughter's godmom, and she be cracking up. But when you find good people in this community who is not just doing it for a check, like they really have a passion for it. You know, she has a teenage sister who has autism, so she gets it. And she treated my daughter so gently and so lovingly that I had no we had no choice but to love her. And she's like a little sister to me. She's 25. She's in graduate school. Shout out to T.
Go T.
Nah, man. Let me give T some love. Give her some love.
And look, and mom says she coming too.
Yeah, my mom.
Mom coming?
I have a brother who he'll be 18. He has autism. My mom adopted him when he was 5. And he's just another testament to never letting people tell you what your child will never do. Because when he came to us, he was in pull-ups. He wasn't talking. He wasn't trained. They said, oh, he'll never do this. He'll never do that. He's going to be 18. He gave the toast at Maurice's and I wedding.
Oh.
He is an amazing artist. He's a cartoonist. He's working on his cartoon book. He is funny as ever. I mean,
that's what's up.
He is hilarious. Maurice picked him up from school one day, and him and Maurice got this thing. Like, you know, Maurice is crazy, so they have their little bond. And my brother Maurice started off with his stuff, and my brother was like, Maurice, I just got out of school. I just need.
I ain't got time for your shenanigans.
Basically, like,
I ain't got time for your shenanigans today.
I don't got time for this.
Like you today.
I just got out of school with these badass kids.
You know what I'm saying?
And then Maurice was like, I'm sorry, man. You know, my bad. And then because a part of autism is they take everything literally. So if you say, like, for instance, you know, I hate you, something like that. Like, you know, like some people say stuff like that. They might like
saying it playfully.
Yeah, but they don't pick up on sarcasm.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So he didn't pick up that Maurice was being sarcastic when he was like that. And he was like, he thought he hurt Maurice's feelings. And he was like, oh no, man, I didn't mean it like that. And it was really sweet. But he really is the sweetest soul. And
that's what's up.
Maurice and I always say this. We say if our kids grow up to be like my brother, then we'll be happy because he's the best.
That's what I'm talking about. So where can our listeners and watchers go to find information on Autimazing?
You can check me out on IG at Autimazing, one word. I'm on Facebook, Autimazing, one word. And you can also email me at autimazing@gmail.com.
And I will also link it in our description.
Yes.
When you look at this video, so you can.
And also the info for my parent, mom to mom group is still time to RSVP. So, yeah, hit me up.
And we could purchase T-shirts off of that website.
T-shirts, hoodie. I'll also give you the website for that. Is Big Cartel. But I can do in-person orders also.
Oh, for real?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I want a T-shirt. I want mine tight because I want that. You
look like the type.
I would like I'm husky.
Showing his belly.
His dad bod.
All right, I'm cutting the show right now. I'm cutting the show right now. They're talking about my tummy.
I'm sorry, partner.
The way she do me. Jesus.
It's all love.
Man. No.
I appreciate y'all having me on. This was fun.
Oh, man.
Listen, we had a ball with you. Very informational. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm just so excited about what God has in store for you and your ministry.
I appreciate that so much, sis. I really do.
Yes.
I really do.
Yes, we were blessed.
Yes.
Don't me hear someone.
That's what you put on? Really?
Yeah, we got to bring it down.
Hey. That's a shame because I jumped right on there with it.
Hey. God is blessed. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord.
Then you got to play the Missy.
It's all about balance.
Listen, that beat is hot. You can't help it.
Thank you, sis. Thank you. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you.
Oh, man.
Thank you, Kookums.
So wait a minute. Anybody want to shout out before we get out of here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I want to shout out.
Some flowers.
I want to shout out y'all for having me. Big shout out to this Joan podcast. My husband, Maurice.
Yes.
My homie.
My partner in crime. I couldn't do this thing without you, honey.
Yes.
My mother.
Hey, Ma.
Mama Dukes.
/ babysitter. always there when we need her. My sisters. Being great aunties.
Yes.
You know, my family, my nieces. My
nephews, there we go.
All of them.
Yeah. Run it down.
That's right.
Never treated my children any differently. Just loving them, and I really appreciate it a lot.
That's what I'm talking about.
And my community
there we go. Hold on,
of supporters.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm in.
And I got to shout out VSU one more time. Go Trojans.
VSU. There we go.
VSU. I love it.
Look, she just had to get that in.
Do it again. Let me see.
VSU.
I
love it.
They're like, yo, they some damn fools.
Oh, yes. I have to shout out my older children, Malia, Anna, and Noah.
Yes. Hey, y'all. Awesome parents.
Yes. Great big sisters and brother, and we appreciate y'all. Love y'all.
So, man. Yo, this, I love this show right here.
It was good. It was good.
Take us home.
Sure, you little joker.
More, Missy, one more time.
You really love this song.
I get you.